Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, Matt.
Me and Wes are just checking in with each other.
Yeah, man. How's your week going, bro?
Pretty good, man. It's been a weird week. I think this shit happens to me in the winter where I just like completely become devoid of personal energy. Well, no, I shouldn't say completely because I'm still getting stuff done. But I just become like, I never use the word, I don't like to use the word depressed because I feel like it feeds into like a kind of like I'm sick victim mentality. But I have a psychic cold right now. I've had it all week where I'm just like, I just wake up and it's just like, man, it's hard to move today, you know? So, and I will say, keep on moving. Dude, the routine, man, it's like, it's a double process. You got to be patient with yourself. You can't beat yourself up, but it's like, yeah, man, it's like, I still get all my stuff done. And, you know, I might not be firing on all cylinders, but yeah, like you were saying, it's like, you keep pushing, man. That's the biggest thing. You have to realize that a lot of it depends on how you conceptualize it. Because again, I could say, oh, this and that, oh man, I need that, and it's like, yeah, no, it's like I'm not doing that. It's just like if like say I have like my little funks, I know there's a start and end to them. So it's just it's the same thing I do to a cold where I go like, all right, seems like it's winding down, and then it's back to what I'm doing. And it's weird where it's like you start like there's little things like working out, little things you can do, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you must plod through it. I will say, now that I've been meditating, especially doing that every day, when you're in touch with yourself, that's kind of like learning to observe things. It makes like anxiety. It's easy to be like, see how that works with being able to get into a mindful state with anxiety, because it's like, it's pretty direct and you can kind of calm it down when you're kind of like in a funk. It's a weird thing to observe kind of from a distance where you're like, huh, that's weird, but it's helpful is what I'm saying. But so that's been the week's been good. It's just been busy and full of a bunch of stuff, but it's been good. I'm pumped with the way it's going.
Stephen Pressfield would be happy with you right now.
Yeah.
Very happy with you. Yeah, Stephen Pressfield, for those of you who don't know, Matt and I really like his book called The War of Art, and he talks about a professional just shows up regardless of your emotional state around it. Obviously, you don't want to take that too far. It combined this with Steve Jobs' advice during his commencement speech to Stanford, which said, if there's too many days in a row where you find yourself not doing what you like doing, then you probably have to pivot and make a change. However, anything below that threshold should just be, this is just us humans being, emotionally volatile to a certain degree. And I agree with you, Matt. Meditation, I believe, sleep and meditation, and proper nutrition. Those are kind of like the trifecta for me to have an emotional and psychological equilibrium. But it's still, it's only going to hedge it so much. Right at the end of the day, we're humans, so you're still going to have this volatility. But if it's an enormous volatility, that's where it becomes a problem. So sleep, meditation, and nutrition is what I have found, and exercise. I guess that's the four pieces. Dude, I notice every time when I don't get in my exercise, and it's so funny because it takes me like a good 2-3 days to realize this. I don't know why it takes me so long. But that is one thing that I have to have as a cornerstone. If I don't, then I become a grumpy grouch,
Yeah, man, dude, the exercise, it's exercise for sure. And it was the meditation. I didn't know that was a thing I needed to do. Dude, the one morning I come down and it was like, I think this is for me, it was kind of like a revelation or something I like typically didn't get right. So I woke up, I was kind of in a frenzy. We had like a bunch of footage get fucked up for the podcast. And, I was like kind of sick over it. And so I wake up in the morning and I just get into this mode where it's like, I'm going to just I can't do anything until I get this thing fixed. I'm going to get up, I'm going to drive, to the place and upload this thing that didn't get uploaded. Then I'm going to like meet the person, give them an SD card. And really like, I was like, let me just do my, again, I was going to stray from the routine. I was going to say, oh, I don't have time for the routine. Let me go do all this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. So I like mapped out this totally nonsensical day of like driving to a place, coming back, then driving again later, like right to, around that place. I was waiting for someone to wake up. And then I'm like, let me just meditate. And again, from the thing exactly you said, from the quote from the guy who was saying like, you know, when I meditate twice a day. And I think you said, if I don't have time, I meditate for 40 minutes a day. And it was like,
yep.
Dude, so I said, let me just, you know, it sounded like sage advice and I liked hearing it. Let me actually apply it rather than, you know, just being like, oh, that's cool. Dude. And then so I sit there. It was the craziest thing. So I go, no, dude, this thing driving you is just like, you know, some weird internal pressure that's, you don't even need to go by that. Like it's like, oh, people want this thing now. And it's like, that's self-created. So I'm like, just wait till the person wakes up, go kill 2 birds with 1 stone. In the meantime, do your little morning routine you always do. By the time I finished meditating, I get a text from the person I was waiting on. They said, hey, come on. And it was just like, you know what I mean? It was just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
So that was a big thing. Knowing when to kind of accelerate and decelerate. And it's like, you know, that was kind of big. That was kind of eye opening for me this week.
I cannot stress the level of importance for me, and I believe for all men, to have their daily habits, which that's what our scorecard is. Every single day you have to build your bridge, and those habits are like the pillars that support that bridge. Some pillars are just going to be out of your control, but the scorecard types of items, you have complete control over them. So do that. That is your hedge against the environment being destructive towards your daily schedule. It's like, protect that time. That's why I love doing it in the morning. You know, Matt and I think you do the same thing. Get that stuff done in the morning, so that way, regardless, whatever the environment throws at you, whether it be, you know, podcast footage is ruined, whatever that is, well, now you already have 11 pillars under your bridge. And yeah, maybe the 12th one, maybe that's a little bit tainted or compromised, but still you have enough support under you because you've built that daily habit or those daily habits.
Yeah, and they also it's almost another thing too, where it's like, if you have, say you're in a state where you're just like, you know, you're just not firing on all cylinders, and having those habits, like say if you're having like let's say like strong emotions or whatever, the behaviors that you usually engage of because of those emotions, if there's no like usual kind of blueprint or kind of like, you know, routine, you know, who knows, you know, what you're up to and what you're doing, you know, within that state. But it's like, again, like they're the pillars, and you're also like, if you're kind of like, I have no idea what's going on, I have no idea what I'm doing, it's like, that doesn't have to feel like it makes sense. Just go do those things. Just go through those motions of doing those things. And like, slowly you're like, oh, like, dude, just like I could have forsaken my morning routine because I could have justified it. Like, no, but you don't understand. Everything's all blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, let me just stick to it no matter what. It just has like a calming, centering effect. And I was like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. That being said, I want to give a shout out to Ray. This guy has shown up every single day, I believe, for probably 3, if not 4 months at this point. Literally every single day, Monday through Friday. Matt, I don't know if there's a chance if we can get him up, but he could definitely speak to this, what we're talking about, getting those pillars. Cool, hell yeah, getting those pillars up every single day, so that way if something does fail for the day or for the week, you still can fall back on all those pillars. He's just been crushing the scorecard team every single day, which, by the way, we did some mobility work this morning, and we did some core work for the Rhomas men's workout team. It's just been phenomenal, man. Like, I'm awesome. Now noticing where, like, I am now at critical mass. We've put enough inputs in to where this point has kind of like a momentum of its own, and you start to notice little things with your body. Oh, now I can do the sit-ups longer, or I can do whatever it is, or I can reach my arm around, you know, an inch more than I never thought I could. So those types of things. Anyway, that's Ray, awesome, what's up, man. Brother?
How we doing, lads? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Right on.
So yeah, man.
Good, man.
Wanted to have you on because you are a perfect example of putting in the work every day, and you've been doing the scorecard every single day, Monday through Friday, and being a leader on the team. But if you wouldn't mind just talking about your experience on number one, how are you able to do that? And number two, what were the benefits you've received? And also, what's the price that you pay for it? Because there's always a cost and a benefit.
Sure. Well, the scorecard really changed my life, man.
Oh, cool, man. Awesome.
I'm hearing an echo on my end, so I'm going to turn this off.
Probably has something to do with
see.
Toronto.
Can you still hear me?
Now we
there's
hear
a big echo.
Motherfucker.
So
Hold on. How about now?
no,
You're all good.
Can't hear me at all.
I can
No, I
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Yes, no echo.
You're good. You're good, dude.
Can you hear me? I'm good. Okay. So how has the scorecard changed my life? It's, the Hail Mary pass, a big pitch to the clients, that like running 5 miles. That was my mentality before. And what I've learned from the scorecard and from you guys is that like success comes from daily habits, small micro improvements, right? So I want to be buff or I want to be fast. That doesn't come from pushing as much weight as I can when I go to the gym once a month. We've been doing yoga, we've been doing Pilates, we've been doing push-ups 30 minutes a day for 3 months. And I'm just like, I'm an unrecognizable Hulk as a result. No Hail Marys, just like unsexy, unglamorous, daily practice, right? Same with, and it just rolls out from there. The sleep is something I never was programmed to think was important to my holistic performance, right? Like, and Matt, you recall at the beginning of this journey together, we were so excited to get up at 6 a.m. and get right on the Discord and brag about, hey, who's up? But you soon discovered that staying in bed for that extra hour really improved your daytime performance, which is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right. So the same for me. So the sleep line item on the scorecard was a game changer for me. Those are just two examples of how the scorecard has made big improvements for me in my.
I think you have music playing or something.
It has made big improvements for me in my health, in my performance all day, and in my career as well. Like again, I'm not looking for Hail Marys. Just the act of love, checking in. I'm able to, I've transplanted that into my career where I just check in with a client once a week with a text, and that just keeps the lines of communication going. Then they have the opportunity to tell me I'm still thinking about that painting. I've decided for sure that I don't want it, and so just small daily practices, not Hail Marys, are what have made me a winner.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
100%, man. Ray, do you mind if I throw out? Oh, are you guys getting that echo?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One thing I want to throw out there, because I know you're on the sales journey, just as a quick side note, in case anybody else is listening to this who's also on a sales journey. Can you hear me?
You know what?
Are those headphones shocking you?
Let's see. I'm having tech issues, so
That's all right.
It's all right. This is called
try
karma
again
because Ray
now,
always.
Wes.
It's called karma because Ray always makes fun of me for having tech issues. So Ray, can you still hear me, bud? Just give a thumbs up if that works. Okay, cool. Yeah. One thing just to add to your sales technique is checking in, providing value, and then I know you know this, but just in case anybody else is listening, adding in a soft CTA, call to action. So always, always, always. In the absence of that, you're stuck in the friend zone, if that makes sense. So it's go and give the value, check in. Hey, just checking on you, just checking in on you. Want to give you this quick thing, whatever that gift is in your world. Like for me, that gift in my world is just teaching the client an extra little thing. Hey, I saw this thing on the news. You probably saw it too. You want to talk about whatever it is. Here's what I learned. Quick little couple minute thing. That is a piece of value. I want that person walking away saying, oh, like he actually just taught me something. And then I say something like, Hey, and I know we're working on that deal right now. Not putting any pressure on you, but just let me know whenever you want to move forward. If you want to move forward, either way, totally cool with me. But just let me know if you want to do it now or if you want to hold it off. I'm totally cool with that. That is a CTA, but it's a soft CTA. It doesn't have to be like all the books tell you, like, say, hey, Matt, like, you're going to do this now, or like get him to say yes 45 times, so that tricks him into saying yes the 46th time. That shit doesn't work,
like nod your head as you ask them, and they like, yeah,
exactly.
Wes, something else I've taken from our from your lessons is another version of that call to action is don't be afraid to set a deadline. Can I talk to you today or tomorrow about that painting we were thinking about? And you say like you give them till Friday or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just kind of riff on this real quick. So number one, you always have to ask yourself, what does the client want? So, and by the way, all of us men can use this, because it doesn't have to be sales. It can be try to influence somebody to do anything. You want to influence your wife to go to the beach today instead of going to whatever hike. So number one, what's the desire? Like 100%, you have to ask yourself, what is this person in the desire framework? Are they a 0 or are they a 10? You always want to try your best to be in the prescription business, not the vitamin business. One is curing a pain. Another one is preemptively curing a pain, right? But human beings will always want to cure their current pain way more than they're going to want to prevent future pain. That's just how humans work. So that's the top of the filter. Where is this person in terms of their desire? Usually pain is going to be the number one motivator. That's just how humans are. So for instance, Ray, if you are in the art world, one of the pieces of pain that a client might experience is keeping up with the Joneses. I'm actually going to imagine that's the majority, a large piece of the pie for art. It's, hey, did you know that Mrs. Smith over there has X, Y, and Z painting, and you don't? Like something like that. So that's fresh out of the gate. Like, where's the desire? Then the next stage is, do they know? So now they need to solve that pain, right? The pain is a problem, right? Now they need to know that you are the one who can solve that pain, right? The way that the filter, the framework that you go through there is, do they know you? Do they like you? Do they trust you? And do they feel that you're competent? Those 4 things have to be in place. If any, like, and on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you in each of those things? Then from there, that's when you get into social proof, urgency, scarcity, etc. Those are the things to push it over the finish line, mixed with a call to action, right? Like some sort of, so if you go through those things, like if I were to watch your sales pitch, I would grade you on a scale of 0 to 10 and the client on a scale of 0 to 10, all of those things. If they don't line up, if they're not, all of them are not like 7+, then I'd say your probability is dramatically reduced of actually pushing the ball over the finish line.
Jeez.
Well, I think Wes,
it's very calculated. This is
as
where
your informal advisor, on Rhomas University, maybe you want to make a scorecard for sales.
I already have
because
one.
the scorecard. Because do you have a scorecard for the weight loss challenge?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then so maybe the scorecard format you can ripple out to the various other disciplines we're talking about. One other thing I wanted to mention was that setting the call to action or deadline is something I learned from you in sales, but setting a deadline for oneself has applications way beyond sales. Like when we talk about what the whole format of this crowdcast is setting goals on Monday and checking in on Friday. And even just yesterday we talked about time blocking, which is setting deadlines for yourself. And your prediction was true, Wes, that I got everything I wanted to get done just by listing, assigning a time, and taking out all the sabotage, like removing all the sabotage or excuses.
Yep, 100%.
Really, and Wes, when you're breaking that down too, it's like, do they know me? Do they like me? Do they trust me? Blah blah blah. And you're saying like, well, it's very calculated, and it's like, sure, I think that's just the perception of it's calculated, but really It can be very simple. It's like, do they know me? Do they like me? Do they trust me? Mm-hmm. Well, that has nothing to do with the other person. It's like, how are you conducting yourself? And are you, again, like, just a scorecard of like working out, doing this, doing that. It's like, if you're like out there not just doing the fundamentals, no matter, like you said, no matter what you're trying to do, especially, sales or anything else, it's like, well, it's not a moral thing. It's just if you're out getting like all fucked up the night before and you roll out of bed and you start trying to make some phone calls and this person can like kind of tell you're drunk, still hungover, it's you set yourself up to be in a position where you're like running so uphill that it's like, this guy's like, is this guy fucking drunk? Or you're showing up in person, you kind of have that alcohol pouring through your, like, people notice that stuff. And, it's nothing like, oh, you're bad for that. I've done that before, but it's like, I need something from you. And I'm like, all I can think about is like, damn, this guy reeks like booze coming out of their pores or whatever, or they're stoned or whatever. And it's like, so it's like a lot of this stuff can be addressed almost automatically by just aligning yourself properly and doing kind of things properly. Like we're talking about like a daily fundamental level to where like now you're approaching someone and you're already kind of firing all cylinders. It's not so much of a head game because you've just done the things you're supposed to do.
Yep, exactly. Well, it's I
100% agree, Matt. You're investing in yourself when you do Scorecard, and when you're meeting with that client, they are seeing a well-capitalized business, right? Yeah. They're seeing and personally and even professionally, right? Like the self-confidence, the abs, the healthy glow, the breath that doesn't reek of booze or meth or whatever. Yeah. Whatever the rest of the dogs do on the weekend. So go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and Matt, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. As soon as you say the word sales or you say that there's some sort of formula, people can be rubbed the wrong way. And that's the last thing I want to come off as. But to say that it's not studyable, sure, right, and you can't learn from it and improve on it is insane. And you can let the sleaze bags. Yes, there's a lot of salespeople who are sleaze bags who just learn the mechanics and the tactics and they execute that and they take advantage of people. Those people should rot in hell. I'm not talking about those types of people.
So people do that with stand up too. Same type of people do that with stand up, where they observe, they see the mechanics. They go, if I raise my eyebrow weird and kind of twist my hip, people will just kind of laugh. But yeah, dude, it crosses all barriers. It's like, you can fake the funk or you can really, live the life. And it's like, that's what we're kind of talking about, like living the
exactly
life in general.
Exactly. Anytime, just always realize, and I might sin in front of Ray right here, but from my experience, there's a lot of artistic things that can be broken down scientifically. Dance is a perfect example. It's the same exact thing. Like I've talked to dance purists who say, oh, well, you can't learn how to dance. Like you just go out there and feel it. It's like, well, I don't know how to fucking feel it. Like, what do you want me to do? I do not know how to feel it. So, but I can tell you, I have massively benefited from going to instructors who break down the art into scientific components. And then eventually it builds my own individualistic art, if that makes sense. It's the same exact thing with human communication, same exact thing with sales, same exact thing with stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is a perfect example of that. Like you can't break it.
Wes, that reminds me of think as an outsider, right? Yep. So because you're bringing your analytical brain or outlook to dance, and it's your personal recipe for success, right? Because you're driven in finance or in your other areas of your life that you're relentless in perfecting or mastering dance.
Well, I mean, you talk to any dance instructor, I swear dance instructors are some of the most analytical people on earth. But Matt, I mean, what is your experience with stand-up comedy? I'm going to imagine that stand-up comedy, it's like, you might not be able to break everything down into its like individual nucleus or atom. However, I'm going to imagine there's broad strokes where you could say, yeah, like do this. You should talk about cadence. But what is your experience with that of breaking down the art of stand-up comedy?
It's well, like you said, none of these things are like, a lot of times too, like people will just to like preemptively answer it. A lot of times people think, people like, I kind of roll on a more intuitive level where I understand. People say, just feel it. I'm like, I understand what you're talking about. But it's like, there's still, I've gained so much from feeling it and breaking it down logically, where it's like, there's both, two things can be true at once. So, I always tell people, don't forget that and kind of go with what works for you. But with stand up, it's like, it goes either way. Like I would be like, I'm just going to wing it and feel it. And then, you just don't have anything to talk about and you feel like an idiot and you're like, oh, I should have prepared. But then you can with, especially with stand up. And I probably, this could happen to dance too. If you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, the whole time, you can overthink it and you're not in the moment and it comes off kind of like stiff and robotic.
Sure. Oh yeah.
In a way that kind of affects your performance. So yeah, I think it's like, so for stand up, to answer the question directly, preparation to prepare, like you were saying, Wes, to like break it down and to really prepare allows you to be competent enough to kind of go into those more kind of free and fluid states, if that makes sense.
Without a doubt.
Like that isn't like people want to think like I just stepped on and you have the stuff, kid, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, kind of, but like, you know, if you can prepare and like really, really work at a thing, that kind of the thing that enables you to kind of do that like miraculous flow state where like, oh my God, it looks crazy. It's like, well, yeah, that was like thousands of hours of trembling like a dweeb on stage. I mean, like, you know, so it's like, oh, it looks so easy. It's like, yeah, well, it is now, but you know, like I felt like I was going to have a heart attack for the first 4 years. So it's like,
yep.
Yeah,
and that reminds me of what Jordan Peterson taught us, right? It's like, you don't have to be a prisoner or a slave to the preparation. And just like when you're on stage, Matt, you don't have to just parrot out memorized phrases, right? But like, so what Peterson says, as you recall, is schedule the day you want. You don't have to be a prisoner of your schedule, right? But like preparation, exactly. So I'm sure, I wonder if preparation for you, Matt, allows you to be off the cuff more successfully as a stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
And what is that preparation, by the way? If you want to look like you're off the cuff and just ad-libbing.
I mean, you kind of just do. You do, you know, for me, it was like
writing?
for a long time, it was like, yeah, I would just kind of have a general idea of what I want to do. And I would over obsess it. I'd be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But then you go out there and like, you know, you do that and you do a thing and it's like, oh, that kind of didn't work that well. You're like, well, this probably, you know, judging on the reaction. So it's hard to kind of say, but it's like really just, you know, the number one thing is, again, that idea of de-reflection of like, let me take the worries about myself out of it. Like, I don't like, you know, am I going to lose? Am I going to do this? Am I going to come across a certain way?
Yep.
And strictly focus on the other person and me just trying to have fun. So it's like just approaching it like, no, that like approaching a thing as a good thing, as weird as it sounds, rather than a bad thing is like step one for me. How I'm framing it. Like, you know, if I'm going to make a sales call, oh, they're going to hate me. Oh, they're going to hang up on me versus like, hey, I just want to like see if this person's intention or, you know, needs link up with mine. That's all, you know, nothing weird about it. So it's like how I phrase it, how I'm kind of like conceptualizing good or bad thing in my head. I want it to be a good thing. If it's not, then, you know, I shouldn't be out doing a thing that is like inherently bad for me. So yeah, switch it to a good thing and then have done the preparation to where like I'm competent and then, you know, identify the spots where say, you know, if really it's as simple as a thought popping up and it's a snap second thing being like, just go with that. And that's when you got to really kind of learn to go with the flow sort of, if that makes sense.
Well, and Matt, that one of the key pieces there that you said is basically you're going to have an intersection. Is your intention actually that? And I think that's what I want to give value to this person. Is that really your intention?
Yes.
Because I think where a lot of people, especially in sales, right, or especially in anything, it's like you have to really be honest with yourself and say, okay, is my intention pure? And of course, you're going to have to get something out of it. That's just how human beings work, right? It's not sustainable otherwise. But is your payback ratio appropriate? Are you willing to give more than you're about to receive? And if the true answer is no, then you're going to come off really weird in your communication. The other person's going to see through it.
I'm glad you said that because that is the thing too. This isn't just mental tricks. Like you have to actually believe in it and, you know, have that be your thing. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'm glad you said that because otherwise, again, that's exactly why I think this stuff gets kind of puts a bad taste in people's mouth because there's almost people out there like you said before, was fake it till you make it stuff or like just kind of promoting people being disgenuine. And it's like,
yeah,
nobody likes that. Like nobody likes that. And it's like, you know, don't do that, you know? And if you feel like you have to do that in a certain field, like go to another one, man. It's like, you know,
100%. Yeah. 100%. Ray, it was awesome having you on, brother. Appreciate your effort. It's really, I can tell you my scorecard every day since you've been on there is a 10 or 11 every single day. Like, so we're there. You go.
Damn, dude. Damn, man.
See, he's crushing it, man. He's absolutely crushing it.
Good luck having these abs at 43, dogs.
I can only pray. Just hangs up. What an animal.
I wanted to give a shout out to Troy because he actually took action and he's been shoveling snow, and I think he said he made an extra $500 just in a single day. Ooh. Oh yeah, man. I mean, dude, that's awesome. And the other, I read a comment. Jake was saying one thing I got from today's scorecard session was to create a routine of healthy stress. Dude,
and this comes from the logotherapy stuff for psychonol I was doing, but there's this whole idea that we should be constantly, getting ourselves into kind of a zero tension state. That's almost like the idea of mental health. Like, no, to like reduce the tension, to like reduce your homeostasis to peace and calm. And the idea of logotherapy is the opposite. It's like we should be cultivating healthy tension constantly. And the tension specifically is between our current self and our ideal self. And there should be a constant tension between that, rather than just being like, if you're feeling, it almost is this, like if you're feeling tension around a thing, you're sick. Where it's like, no, it's actually healthy. You should be feeling tension. If you're not doing the things that you feel you should be doing, there should be a reaction to that. Otherwise, being like, no, blunt that reaction, because you don't want to feel bad. And it's like, you might want to actually, that sometimes you have to feel bad. I'm glad I felt bad enough to like get a routine and kind of get my life in order. Like I'm glad I experienced all those kind of sleepless nights, because otherwise I just would have remained oblivious. So it's like something to really be mindful about, how they say, like, they use the word pathologize tension, and it's like, no, it's healthy. Well, it can be
right. Yeah, Matt, is there an element of voluntary repeated exposure that can help people with this? So for instance, we were listening to Andrew Huberman this morning. That's what Ray was referring to when we do our morning learning session on the Scorecard team, where he was talking about basically embrace the stress, but then he was talking about the Wim Hof breathing method, and saying basically you are voluntarily putting yourself into a stressful state. So that, and when it's voluntary, like Jordan Peterson talks about, that voluntary exposure, like those little micro exposures inoculate you when the large external exposures come in. Now you're used to it. Like you've practiced with it. So is there an element to that for you when it comes to learning how to deal with stress? Like basically exposing yourself vaccine style ahead of time, so that way when the real thing comes, you're already pre-planned for it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's like that was the one thing. What do they call that? It was I can't remember the exact name of it, but yeah, it's exposure therapy.
Yep.
And that has like an 80%. And again, when I went to school in Bryn Mawr, they were like, they like put that as some sort of like barbaric torture, but it's 80% success rate. And that's the idea of narrative. That's the idea of narrative therapy. It's like something horrible happens to you. It's like, all right, we're going to sit here and you're going to say it out loud. You're going to tell me that story. Keep telling it to me to the point when you're telling it, it doesn't even affect your biology anymore. That's how you process things. So when you like, the idea is like, and a lot of the things that actually work in therapy and the things that get the results are, and you don't want to like, obviously like push someone through a meat grinder, but it's like, you want to kind of meet them where they're at, and then just kind of at their own pace, expose them to the things they're avoiding. And that like goes across a ton of different like domains of whether it's like behavioral therapy or psychodynamic, whatever. It's like that's where the growth happens. Like the growth happens as you kind of like, and the skill is kind of not overwhelming a person or like throwing them too far in the deep end, but it's like, can you push up against that thing that's bothering you a little bit and come back and, how do you feel? Okay, you're not dead. Yeah, it wasn't that bad, right? Let's go a little more into that. And the idea is you're supposed to expand in that way. And it's like, even things you don't want to think about, like, well, let's think about them, but like not all at once. So yeah, dude, to answer your question, yes, like that's like, I'm not saying it's like, it can help. I believe personally, that's like the thing that helps everything, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Well, what talking through this is helping me kind of visualize this. It seems like it's a damage repair cycle, no different than building muscle. Yeah. It's how can you voluntarily damage it so that you force your body to adapt to it, but then you have to have a repair cycle as well. So damage, but not damage so much where it's not repairable, but damage to the point where your body's natural mechanisms can then repair that tissue. Then the next day you're stronger. I think that's it's an analogy that's helpful for me. And a bodybuilder explained to me one time, I think it was Dorian Yates now I remember. Dorian Yates on the Joe Rogan podcast talked about building a muscle is very similar to, if you imagine rubbing a piece of sandpaper on your palm. Well, if you do that, you're going to start scraping yourself. Well, if you stop at a certain point, then your body will be able to repair that tissue. That's kind of what you want to do to your muscle when you're bodybuilding. Yeah. Seems like you want to do something similar with your psychology, right? Like voluntarily kind of rub that sandpaper on it and then let go, like let it off so it can repair itself. But if you keep on going and it's too hard, then all of a sudden you've taken it way overboard and you've damaged yourself way beyond repair, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's just the problem is with, and that's an awesome way to put it. The problem with like inner psychology stuff is there's no physical, you can't physically verify. I could rub my hands with sandpaper and I could, track my skin in a way and say it's actually getting rougher. I'm forming calluses. The non-physical stuff is hard to kind of quantify. And, that's why it gets all kind of loosey goosey and weird, but it's like, dude, it's like, there's a thing, say like there's a situation, right, that needs your attention and you shy away from it. What happens? The situation gets worse. Usually, in my experience, it gets worse. It creates more problems. You see those, you go, oh, that's too much. I don't want to deal with that. And then what happens? Those problems multiply. And it's almost like whenever you're called, when your inner voice or whatever is like, hey, we need to do this, and you don't, like your world kind of cracks a little. It's a teeny little bit. And over the course of time, like, that's when like things just shatter. And you're like, what the fuck? How'd this happen? It's like because you ignored all those little things over and over. And I will say, and again, I don't want to like, and I'm kind of like throwing myself under the bus a little here, but with the snafu that I had this week, it was strictly, and I can identify with with the fact that this happened because I kind of in the past suffered from something similar. But the person that was kind of like doing our producing stuff, all they had to do was interrupt and say, hey, sorry, can you slide in a frame a little bit? But they just never, it can be intimidating. I understand that.
Sure.
But that's it, dude. That it was uncomfortable, and rather than dealing with that uncomfort, now there's a fucking mess. And it's like, and that comes back on me because, it's like, well, maybe we've had a couple things slip here and there. And I didn't want to deal with the discomfort of being like, hey, like, get it together or no, so, and again, it's when I want to, it's a really good time to check in too. And I'm like, this person, it's like, where's my fault in it? And I instantly see it and I go, God damn it, fuck. But, either way, that's just one example of like, you hear that little voice, like, like, yeah, I need that person to slide in. And you try to take the easy way out, and it just fucking creates problems, man. Again, you obviously got to balance that and check yourself. You don't want to be going like ham on everything all the time, but dude, like that is one of those things that like you absolutely again, relationships, there's certain things popping up. Oh, I don't want to deal with it. It's like it's going to build and it's going to culminate. You don't have a choice. So that's like something I really work on myself, man. And I've been happy the fact that I've been able to kind of like, especially like interpersonal relationships and like certain conversations I might have been uncomfortable having. I just have them. I know they're going to be horrible and uncomfortable. It's amazing how much that changes things when you put yourself through that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think Jordan Peterson articulated it great when he said, willful blindness, it has the payoff of not feeling the immediate pain. But what willful blindness does is it accrues the chaos. And eventually, just like you say, eventually everything shatters because you just keep on building up that chaos. And then boom, all of a sudden you now have a problem that's a level 10 that could have been solved at a level 1.
Yeah. Or like, especially in like relational problems, it could be something like, say it's like someone and like say you're dating somebody or you're married or whatever, and you're watching like your in-laws or your family, it doesn't even matter. But if you see like other family members kind of going at each other in a way where you're like, man, I wish that didn't happen. You're the exact thing that situation requires. So when you kind of like shy away on the sides, it's almost your fault, in a way. Again, take it with a grain of salt or don't just try to apply this one-to-one to your situation. But for me, I found when I've shied away from the interpersonal stuff, even stuff with like other people fighting each other, it's like, oh, I need to step in and kind of help do that. And it's like, it's amazing what an effect that has when you don't tuck your, head under your legs and like step in and be present and offer your actual thoughts on things. And like, in a respectful way, obviously with the, again, what's my intention? I genuinely want to kind of like bring peace to the situation. It's like, it's almost a crime to not do that, to think like, like looking back on it, it's like, damn, say I didn't do that and I let things be as they were. Like, that would be really shitty of me to do that. And why am I doing that? Because I'm kind of nervous. It's like, man, that sucks. So it's like, that's something to really, if especially if you're younger, to like just start working on it now, just get it out of the way and to develop that part of yourself, man, of just being like what is it called? Tactful self-assertion is a skill that is like, man, is it really important.
Well, and then imagine yourself going in and you've been meditating, you've been sleeping, you've been exercising, you've been doing all these things. You are a different creature going into that particular circumstance now. The chances that somebody else will be able to do better than you in that situation, who is ever having the little cat fight now, et cetera, it's basically zero. And I have found that being true for myself. And I'm not bragging by any means. I'm just saying the power of these tools that we always talk about: meditation, exercise, sleep, nutrition, et cetera, that allows you to be the type of man that you need to be to solve the problems out there in the world with the people you need to solve them for.
Yeah, man. Exactly. No, that's I couldn't. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't have put it better. That's the exact thing. It's like you're in a state where it's like, it's almost like, over time. Imagine it like this: everyone pulled an all-nighter, and you got 8 hours of sleep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's almost how it feels. And it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, without a doubt. So, dude, I know you got to run soon, and I have to like furiously urinate. It's just insane.
You're just gonna spray pee like a girl.
So yeah, we want to get up the dude of the week.
Let's do it.
I want to, as usual, just because of his work effort, I want to nominate Ray as well as Troy. Ray for his consistency has just been insane, and then Troy for honestly like going out there and taking action when most people won't. Like the amount of people I hear complain about, I don't make enough money, I don't do blah blah blah, all this stuff. It's like, well, take it there. I guarantee you there are situations right now where you can go out there and you can start to make money just by providing value for people. So if we look at Troy, right, like I'm going to assume that Troy is not some sort of like, slick salesperson, right? He just found people in need because of snow. I believe so. He said he's made $600 this week and $1,000 in a couple weeks through random snow days. You just imagine, right? Like he found people who are in need, and then he goes in and he asks them if they need help, right? And they see him with a shovel in hand, so he's asking politely. I'm sure they know him now. They like him. They trust him. He feels he's competent. Boom, done. Pretty simple.
Yep. I'm also tossing Gunther up there. Day 11, no alcohol.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
That's a big one.
That's awesome. Yep.
That's a big one.
Huge one. That is enormous.
I am. Anyone else?
Yeah, if anyone else wants to nominate themselves or somebody
5
else.
seconds.
Oh,
All right.
I don't see the poll. Is
I'm
anybody?
about to start it up right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Here we go. Polls created. Polls up. The polls are in. Oh, Troy coming in with a vote. M. Gunther coming in with a vote. Ray coming in with a vote. M. Gunther coming in with 2. Oh, Ray, Gunther.
Uh-oh.
Ray. I'm watching it in real time, dude. Oh boy. It seems to be a race between Ray and Gunther.
The alcohol is tough to beat, man. That's a dragon. That's a large dragon to slay, man. Yeah, and Gunther has been going through a lot. He's been taking a lot of control in his life, and it's been awesome to watch him grow. And this on top of what he's already done is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think Ray. If I'm not mistaken, I think Ray needs one more and he gets the T. I believe either it's your 3rd or 4th. This one, I'm not sure.
So I'd say count down 5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Gunther sneaks it out.
Gunther, congratulations, brother. Dude, honestly, it's been cool to watch your progress, man. And now you're just adding on top of it that you removed the booze. Hell yeah, man. That's awesome to see, brother.
Yeah, and just know if you wear the Dude of the Week shirt, if I catch you drunk in it, I'm going to snatch it off you.
Gunther,
it's a perfect shirt for a drunk dude to wear, though. Just Dude of the Week. And like, hey, what's going on?
Hell yeah. And Gunther, I hope you don't mind me saying this. I'm reading Troy's comment. Said he's going on dates too. If that's the case, man, good for you, man. Congratulations.
Ooh, that's big time.
Hell yeah, dude. I think we're all good, right? We're all done.
Oh yeah, we're good to go. Yeah. All right, everybody. Right. Later on.
Have a great weekend, dudes.
Yeah, man. Love you guys.
Love you, dude. Later.